The bagger boy, attempting to prove his bravery, opens the garage door and encounters a tentacled creature that seizes his leg. David and others try to rescue him but fail, resulting in the boy's tragic death. They barely manage to drive off the creature and sever one of its tentacles with an axe before sealing the door. In Bridgeton, Maine, the artist Daniel, his wife Lisa, and their 8-year-old daughter Mia take shelter from a massive thunderstorm, resulting in extensive property damage the following morning. While inspecting the damage to their boathouse, Mia discovers that their neighbor Robert's tree has caused significant harm. As they investigate, the family notices an eerie mist hovering over the lake in front of them, seemingly emanating from the nearby mountain, but they dismiss it and continue their assessment. Daniel approaches Robert to discuss exchanging insurance information to cover the boathouse repairs. During their conversation, he learns that Robert's car was crushed by another tree during the storm. As a goodwill gesture, Daniel agrees to drive Robert and his son to town. On the way, they encounter several suspicious military vehicles traveling in the opposite direction. After the devastating storm, many people, including Daniel, Mia, and Robert, go to the supermarket to purchase groceries. Suddenly, the sound of sirens fills the air as military vehicles and police cars race by the store. An elderly man named George rushes into the store with a bloody nose, shouting about something lurking in the mist and taking a young man. People dismiss his claims as the ramblings of a madman. Gradually, a thick mist envelopes the store, and a sudden earthquake shakes everyone, inciting panic. Reluctant to leave the store after the unsettling events, a woman expresses concern for her daughters, as she left them alone with the older one, an 8-year-old who occasionally forgets to check on her younger sibling. Since no one agrees to accompany her, she decides to venture alone into the mist and is never seen again. Amidst the chaos, groups of people form, reminiscing about better times in an attempt to calm down. David, in search of blankets for his daughter, follows the store manager's advice to look in the logging dock. There, he finds a malfunctioning emergency generator emitting smoke and decides to turn it off. In the eerie silence, David hears an unsettling noise from behind the garage door, as if something is pushing against it. When he returns to tell a group of locals, they don't believe him and opt to open the door to fix the generator. An argument ensues as David insists it's unsafe outside, upsetting one of the men who accuses David of looking down on them. The bagger boy, attempting to prove his bravery, opens the garage door and encounters a tentacled creature that seizes his leg. David and others try to rescue him but fail, resulting in the boy's tragic death. They barely manage to drive off the creature and sever one of its tentacles with an axe before sealing the door. Contemplating whether to reveal the truth to the rest of the customers, they realize the store is not as safe as they thought. Even after disclosing the horrifying events in the logging dock, most customers still regard it as a cruel joke until they witness the severed tentacle, which serves as undeniable proof. The store owner confirms the threat's existence, and David and others guide customers in barricading the storefront windows. Meanwhile, a religious fanatic named Susan starts preaching about an impending Armageddon, claiming it's God's judgment day. This terrifies the children in the store. Amanda, a teacher, intervenes and slaps Susan to silence her. Despite the evidence, a group of skeptics led by Robert decides to leave the store in search of rescue, further exacerbating the tense situation. David attempts to reason with Robert, but it only fuels his neighbor's anger. Hoping to obtain some weapons, one of the town locals volunteers to retrieve a shotgun from Ambrose's truck. To gauge how far he can go, they decide to tie a rope around his waist. As the group ventures into the mist, the rope suddenly gets pulled rapidly, then comes to an abrupt stop. With silence and fear enveloping the room, David starts pulling the rope back inch by inch, already fearing the worst. At one point, blood starts appearing on the other side of the rope, revealing only the lower part of the biker's body. The entire store gasps in awe, shielding the children's eyes from the horrifying sight. Now that people have seen undeniable proof, they begin taking the threat seriously. In preparation for the night, some individuals place lights all over the store, hoping they might deter the beasts. Unfortunately, this trick attracts creepy, enormous flying insects that repeatedly slam against the glass, eventually breaking it and swarming the store. Panic erupts as everyone runs from the creatures, but some attempts to escape prove futile. One wasp-like creature flies directly into store clerk Sally, stinging her in the neck. Amid the chaos, 2 people are killed by the insects, and another perishes while attempting to incinerate them. Sally's death leaves one man in deep grief, Jessup, who had just confessed his feelings for her minutes earlier. Mrs. Carmody, drawing parallels to a biblical scene, miraculously avoids an insect, leading her to preach more fervently and gain followers among the survivors. Meanwhile, store manager Ollie saves Billy's life by shooting one of the insects before it can attack him. The following morning, a small group led by David embarks on a journey to the neighboring pharmacy in search of medical supplies and potential survivors. Amanda and others express their concerns about the danger, fearing that David could leave his son orphaned. However, he believes it's safe enough to reach the pharmacy, pointing out how far the biker got before meeting his demise. Even Mrs. Carmody advises against leaving, launching into a religious monologue before getting hit in the head by a can. The can, thrown by an ex-teacher named Irene Repler, quiets Mrs. Carmody. As they traverse the mist, they quickly arrive at the pharmacy. It appears quiet inside, leading them to believe it's safe. However, their discovery inside the pharmacy shocks them: a nest of giant spiders and the lifeless bodies of Brent's group, used as a breeding ground for countless new spiders. The group gets attacked by the giant spiders, resulting in 2 men being killed by the burning web the spiders used to immobilize and wound their prey. In a desperate attempt to escape, Dan confronts another spider at the exit door and stabs it brutally with a makeshift stick. Fortunately, the rest of the group manages to retreat to safety inside the store. Mrs. Carmody, who had opposed the expedition, exploits its failure to increase her influence by offering protection from divine wrath to new converts. Believers begin forming prayer circles, welcoming all newcomers. David remembers the eerie last words of the deceased soldier in the pharmacy, which were, "I'm sorry." This leads him to suspect the military's involvement in the catastrophe. In their search for the other soldiers locked in the store with them, they discover that 2 of them had tragically taken their own lives, likely burdened by guilt. When they confront the 3rd soldier, Jessup, he reveals the existence of a government project aimed at exploring alternate dimensions at the military base. Scientists might have inadvertently opened a portal to the dimension from which the invading creatures emerged. Enraged by this revelation, Mrs. Carmody's followers turn on Jessup, stabbing him and offering him as a sacrifice. They expel him from the supermarket, where he is promptly devoured by a colossal praying mantis-like creature. After witnessing these traumatic events, David's son, Billy, implores his father not to let the monsters take him. The next morning, David, along with Amanda, Billy, Ollie, Bud, Irene Repler, and Dan Miller, prepares to leave the store to escape the chaotic group that has formed inside. While everyone is still asleep, they attempt to reach the front door but are confronted by Mrs. Carmody. She claims to be a vessel of God and preaches about the need for a blood sacrifice to please him, depicting God as a monstrous being. She demands that Billy be offered as the next sacrifice. In the ensuing commotion, David is ready to fight to protect his son, but Ollie shoots Mrs. Carmody in her madness. He then intimidates her traumatized followers into submission, allowing the group to flee. Despite his efforts, he and 2 others are devoured by the creatures while attempting to reach David's van. Fortunately, Bud manages to escape back into the store. Only David, Billy, Amanda, Dan, and Irene make it to David's car. In an attempt to retrieve Amanda's pistol from the car's hood, David narrowly escapes an attack by one of the creatures but secures the pistol, believing it might be useful. They drive away through the mist, heading toward David's house. There, they find David's wife, Stephanie, dead and suspended in webs, a heart-wrenching sight. Devastated, David decides to drive them away from the town. Along the way, they pass abandoned cars on the highway and encounter a massive 6-legged beast. After hours of driving, they run out of gas, with no means of escaping the mist and the terrifying sounds drawing closer. David takes out Amanda's pistol and, with a solemn expression, suggests that they spare themselves from a gruesome fate by ending their lives. As he counts the bullets left, he realizes they are one bullet short. He decides to spare the others and be the one to remain alive and face the creatures. Just as he's about to shoot his son first, Billy awakens with a pistol to his head, and a shot rings out. Billy's wish not to be taken by the monsters is granted, for better or worse. David proceeds to shoot the other 3 survivors with the remaining bullets before leaving the car, screaming in anguish, pleading to be taken by the creatures. Suddenly, the mist begins to dissipate, revealing the vanguard of a U.S. Army armored column in the process of exterminating the creatures and restoring order. On one of the trucks, he spots the people from the store who were rescued after they left, including the woman who had left to find her children. In that moment, David realizes he killed his son and the other survivors for nothing, and he continues to scream in agony. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and remember to enable notifications to support my channel. Thanks for watching.